Leah Houston, who is the founder of HPEC. She is an emergency physician who experienced the administrative burden of onboarding and credentialing, that onboarding and credentialing process that we all know and love during her practice. That experience led her to start HPEC, a digital identity, automated workforce mobility, and credential wallet for practicing physicians. She also developed Evercred, a separate and interoperable credential with authentic data issuing and verification system. Both systems launched and are available for pilot projects. So with that, Leah, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great. So you kind of shared a little bit, not only did I experience the friction of credentialing, but a hospital actually stole my credentials and were fraudulently billing under my name. And that's kind of what opened this, idea up and made me kind of want to tackle this. And so for those of you who don't know, HPEC stands for the Humanitarian Physicians Empowerment Community, because that's what we do. We empower the humanitarian physicians, to take better care of patients. So, but this is how we feel. We're being micromanaged, we're employed, and our patients feel it too, and they're starting to not trust us. So it's time for us to take the reins and do something about it as doctors. But this barely visible sliver of a line is the growth in physicians since 1975. And there's a physician shortage, but the spending is, outrageous. And then the administrators, are going up by the thousands of %. So with each new regulation now, there's been an increase in the cost to the point that now only 30% of every dollar is going towards patient care. And so automating any administrative processes in the future are going to help with this runaway spending problem. And that's what we're doing. And when you think about it, our credentials is what defines what we're able to do. And the path to becoming a doctor is long and cumbersome. And each step, brings us a new credential that then needs to be verified and re-verified. And this system is built on physician care, and verifying these credentials is necessary in order for the whole system to work. And the current system of credential identification is really outdated, it's manual, and it's friction-filled, and that's what we're fixing. So we have the only end-to-end solution that can automate the verification process and make the entire physician's career life cycle easier. Our system is unique because instead of handling the verification at the back end, after you're graduated, we automate that process from the front end and issue you digitally verifiable credentials. So we have 2 interoperable products. They're both in beta, both launched in production beta. And one issues and verifies credentials, and the other can hold, store, keep, and share credentials. And so while we build out this ecosystem, our system also has the ability to actually verify credentials the old way. And what's on our roadmap to become a credential verifying organization so that we can get to revenue faster. And so I'm going to assume that everyone in the room knows that the credentialing process is kind of crappy. So I'm not going to go through how that works, but I am going to show how our system does better. So when a doctor graduates, they usually get a paper credential now. With our system, they'd also get a digitally verifiable credential that they can hold with them throughout their career. And so that digital credential can then be hashed. Proof that it occurred can be hashed onto a blockchain or a distributed ledger. And so this is a permanent and immutable documentation that I actually graduated from medical school, that I actually have a medical license. And so now when the physician gets a job, or even if you're in private practice, solo cash only private practice, you still have to maintain your licenses and your DEAs and things like that. So whenever you have to verify that you are a doctor, that verifier can then instantaneously check the blockchain, verify that it was real, check the provenance logs that it actually was issued by the state of New York or by Harvard Medical, et cetera. And this automated process of verification can get you to work immediately. And so, physicians lose income when they're waiting. It's normally a 4 to 6 month wait for this. And systems lose on average $1.2 million in revenue per doctor per credentialing event. So this is saving money for everyone involved. And so this is a tiny snapshot of all the friction-filled systems that we touch, that has our data, that controls our data, that uses our data, that we have the ability to either integrate with and optimize, or in most cases replace. None of these work well. None of them are physician-centric. They're all upstream. They're all centralized. And so when you think about it, mobility translates to practice autonomy. So not only by reducing the administrative burden, but when you're able to prove that you are who you say you are, you can also move in and out of systems, whether they provide the resources that you need as a doctor to care for people or not. You can now quit if they're not upholding their side of the contract. And so this is an autonomy machine for doctors. And physicians are burning out, they're dying by suicide. So this is sorely needed for us as a community. Interestingly enough, we also have essentially a referral network engine in there. So you can own your full professional brand, build your own referral networks, get your patients the right care. And then we have a governance model of inclusive stakeholding. So we don't even need a union with a tool like this because it's a DAO, it's a decentralized organization that actually allows us to do decision making. So in conclusion, HPEC empowers the physician community to rebuild the entire healthcare system uninfluenced by third parties, centered around the needs of the patients. And so it makes doctors' lives easier. And so how do we make money? So we're not changing the workflow. You still get issued a credential, you'll still get the paper credential, but the Evercred system is purchased as a SaaS model by the issuing bodies, by medical schools, residency programs, state licensing boards. There's a setup fee, a per user per year fee. And so when the issuers they can use that to issue the credentials. So when the verifier wants to check your credentials, the same thing happens, credential request, no change in the workflow again. So when you share your digital credential, that credential is kept under smart contract until a payment is made. Now the verifiers are already making payments, so they're going to be fine with making the payment still, especially in this automated streamlined system. So as soon as that payment is made, the digital credential is released, the proofs can be verified, you can get to work instantaneously. And then, as holders of this data, we are the physicians that hold and own this data. We already paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for medical school. So we should be, earning something for sharing that data. So the holders and the issuers earn, the verifiers pay, and we as a company provide the service and we take a fee. And so now that you know how we're going to make money, you have to actually believe that this is possible. And one of the most common questions I keep getting is, well, how are you going to get people to adopt this? And what makes you think that hospitals are going to use this? Well, the fact of the matter is that digital credentials are coming. They're coming with or without us. All of those companies that I showed you, there are several that have personally reached out to me to ask me to look under the hood, to ask me to join their company because they are building these tools already. But we are the first and only company who is actually doing this in a physician-centric way. We're the only ones that have a digital wallet that's truly leveraging these standards. And from a regulatory compliance perspective, this is really one of the first times in history that the regulators are starting to require that this data is more streamlined, more automated, more automatic. And we as the physicians hold the data already. It's our data. We're the ones that have to respond to these verification requests. So this is, in my opinion, the optimal way to do it. And that's why we've built it that way. And so regarding the market opportunity, this is a $5 billion market, the credentialing industry. So that's where we're going to start. But the entire healthcare system is a $4.2 trillion system. And the flow of 80% of that capital is directed by us as the doctors. With the stroke of our pen, we decided if you're admitted or discharged, if you're going to get surgery, if you're going to continue physical therapy first. So not only do we direct the flow of that capital with our decisions, but our keyboard is collecting this data. So when it comes to the $450 billion data industry, these tools allow us to have more control over the data that we're generating so that we can also sell that data. And it can be more authentic because currently the data that's in these systems is dirty, it's not properly indexed, and the price of healthcare is artificially inflated because physicians are being incentivized to hurry through patient encounters, leading them to overorder, overtreat. And so if we kind of fix the autonomy problem, we fix the dirty data problem, and then we get to own that clean data as individual doctors and earn money when we share it.
1 minute.
Okay. So this has been developed and fully funded by the physician community so far. We launched an MVP in 2022, and we're raising capital to bring that to enterprise ready. We also have partnerships to medical schools that are going to use the Evercred system to issue essentially dummy credentials so that we can learn the workflow and optimize our tooling. And we also have an agreement with a fingerprinting company that has agreements with all 50 states. This is a snapshot of our current investors. And this is our team. And this is the system that we're building. and we're asking you to join us. You can go to our website today, hpec.io. I'm asking everybody in the audience to immediately do this, just to stay in touch with us, to know what's going on. You know, we have a very unique opportunity to build a company that's solving this complex problem in a unique way, where doctors are actually going to have a say in how the healthcare system is built. And so if you're serious about taking control of your healthcare, of the doctor-patient relationship, of your professional brand, you know, follow us and stay in touch. Thanks.
Great presentation and great use of blockchain. I hear companies talk about blockchain all the time, but I often don't see it utilized in a great way. So very great presentation. Let's open it up for questions.
Oh, thank you for your presentation. Can you please comment more on the traction and how hard or easy it has been to facilitate the adoption, and how much training is needed for people to be using it? Because you are in the growth state, right? According to your timeline right now.
Yeah, so our application, the feedback that I've gotten from the physician community, and there's some of them in the audience right now, so they might want to chime in, is that it's a very easy onboarding process. It's very streamlined. We actually authenticate identity. We use a third-party tool. So joining is free today. Any doctor can join the application. It needs work, which is part of why we're also raising capital to kind of refine the product and make it a little bit easier to use. So as far as, you know, it's really word of mouth. We have Facebook groups, we have social media. And then regarding our partnerships, you know, these are partnerships that we have with, you know, medical schools, academic centers that our investors are there. And so they've helped us to create those partnerships.
So even people who have never used blockchain, just like jump on it and easily on board without any like obstacles.
Yes. And so I want to clarify that we are not currently integrated into blockchains. We have the decentralized identity protocols that can do those things, but we only raised $500,000. So we've done what we can, but everything's ready to plug in. And that's part of what we're raising the next round in order to fully integrate into a distributed system.
Any other questions?
My question is similar to Eunice's on the chat to when you talked about the data and controlling the data and selling the data. What data do you specifically mean? Healthcare data, credentialing data, patient data?
So we're starting with credentialing data, but when we order, for example, from, you know, when we put in an order to a pharmacy, that data is being captured by systems. We can create integrations where we can also capture that data and own it yourself. Your revenue data, your RVU data, these things can be captured, stored, and kept. You know, we as physicians have our procedure logs from residency that we have to keep on a PDF file or an Excel file that we have to share in this old cumbersome manual way. We can keep these as verifiable credentials in our wallet that we can share and sell and use. So right now it's just credentialing data, but as this ecosystem grows and as this tooling becomes more accessible and these protocols become more widely used by systems, we can start integrating into more systems and having a more robust, you know, data sharing system. Also, we eventually aim to use AI to kind of analyze that data. So you want to share your data as a physician, we can pay you for it, and then we can use you know, AI tools to help, you know, make recommendations for clinical trials, make recommendations for job boards, referral networks. All of these things can be integrated later as well.
Great. Any further questions from our judges?
Yeah, can you go back to the team slide real quick? I think you kind of breezed through it in the interest of time, but can you introduce us to your team briefly?
Yeah, so John Guerin is ex-Facebook. You know, has some experience in startups, so he's currently acting as our CTO. And then we have just recently brought on a marketing director and an operations director for the upcoming crowdfund that we are hoping to launch very soon. And
Sharon,
of course, our legal counsel, who's been with us forever. He's like one of my best friends.
So very quickly, Leah, thanks, Susie. So the decentralized identity sort of whatever thing is one of the first use cases hypothesized by the blockchain community, right? 2012 onwards, we've been hearing about this. What has changed now that this will find traction that it has not happened till now, right? Like what in the ecosystem has changed that you think you'd be able to make progress this time?
So what has happened in the blockchain and distributed ledger world is that people have gone in and they've tried to build centralized systems with these tools where they own most of it. And that's part of why it's failed. As far as adoption goes, I want to just quickly point out this slide here. I would say of all the people that you see here, 20% of them are working on building digital credentials. Not all of them are using blockchain. Not all of them are using decentralized identity protocols. Many of them are trying to do it in a centralized way. We're making the bet that doing it in the decentralized way and using these open standards is actually going to be the way, because the centralized systems, the centralization is the problem. The fact that everybody's trying to create a walled garden and make everybody buy their tooling, that is, in my opinion, the problem. And that's the problem that we're solving. Now, that's a bet we're taking. We're an early startup. And maybe we're wrong, but there's digital credentials that are being issued on LinkedIn, for example. I think, ACOG is issuing digital credentials. I think there's a couple of board certifications that are issuing digital credentials. These guys are using closed permissioned protocols that are not fully decentralized, most of them. So, but the digital credential world it's starting to wake up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. If there's any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I know there's a few already in there. So great presentation. And with